everybody, today I am bringing you a brand new 4-part series all about programming. Now keep in mind that this is a fairly basic overview. You can get a lot more specific and have a lot more fun with the programming, but we're gonna keep things simple for today. We have already covered hypertrophy training, and today we are diving into the world of max strength. Specifically in this video, we're gonna talk about what max strength means, different programming features, and then I'll break down 3 exercises and program them according to max strength goals. So let's start first with what is max strength. Max strength is pretty self-explanatory. You're training to move as much weight as possible, and you'll see people really focused on the big lifts here. So back squats, bench pressing, overhead pressing, deadlifts. Now, will people train other goals while they're working on these lifts? Absolutely, but the programming is going to look slightly different, so let's just break this down. So for max strength, our sets and reps are typically gonna be 3 to 5 sets of 1 to 3 reps. And again, that's pretty standard, and that's if you're training max strength for pretty much every workout. But you could easily make the argument for a higher rep range of 3 to 6 reps if you're doing less sessions during the week. Our rest time here is gonna be about 1.5 to 3 minutes in between exercises. We're gonna discuss intensity in a second, but you can kind of see already. Low rep equals max output because we're working for max strength. So basically, you're using up all of your energy, so you need to give your muscles a bit longer to recover before you get to the next set. Our RPE, or rate of perceived exertion, is gonna be 80 to 100%, or an 8 to 10 out of 10. So you really only wanna leave 0 to 2 reps in reserve. You're pretty much gonna be working to failure here. For our tempo and max strength, well, it's not necessarily gonna be fast. You know, the heavier the weight relative to your strength, the slower you're going to move. Just think about it doing a 1 rep max for your deadlift. You're not moving it with a lot of speed. And really, we're seeing the opposite of hypertrophy training here in regards to what part of the contraction we're emphasizing. We're gonna actually spend a lot more time in the concentric phase here. For example, if you're doing a chest press, that weight's gonna move down and then it's gonna take a lot of energy to bring it back up. In your chest press, on the down phase, we're stretching out. That's the eccentric part of the contraction. The shortening phase is gonna be pushing back up, and that's gonna take a lot more of your energy and time. Now, I don't typically work with people on a max strength goal. I actually don't think I've ever done that, but here we are. But we've already kind of discussed some of those basic exercises you're gonna see in a max strength goal, so we're gonna stick with pretty much those. We're gonna break down form for each exercise, and then we'll talk about how to program it. Now, always remember there is a lot of leeway with programming, especially depending on the amount of training that you're doing, so don't get too bogged down by the numbers. Oh my goodness, rare footage of me doing a back squat. So we're gonna take our little clips here, and we're basically gonna bring them down so that they're about armpit height. You're gonna be holding the bar on your back, so you wanna be able to walk through and drop down. That feels right. I can never get this right, but I did. Okay. All right, we're gonna demo this with no weight on the bar, mostly because I have a little back injury right now. So probably shouldn't be doing this at all, but here we are. If you're new here, I don't really love spinal loading, which would be this exercise, putting this weight right on your back. Personally, I don't think there's a ton of crossover for most people's general goals. So for me, unless a client comes to me with wanting to learn barbell back squats, I'm gonna be doing different squat variations instead. Personal choice, I don't think there's anything wrong with the exercise if you wanna do it. I just typically don't do it with my clients. But let's break down the form here. So I chose this for a max strength goal because you're gonna be able to load it up a lot more than a front squat where we're holding the weight in front of us. So we're basically going to get about a little wider than our shoulders. We duck under the bar. We can either load it high or low. I'm gonna do a little higher today. We take a few steps back, find your squat stance, big inhale, exhale, we come on back up. In terms of our programming, we're gonna do 5 sets of 1 to 3 reps. Your intensity here is gonna be a 9 to 10 out of 10 RPE or intensity, and this is gonna be a much slower tempo. You only wanna have about 0 to 1 reps in reserve because again, we're trying to test that max strength, and you're gonna take 2 to 3 minutes of rest in between. One other programming note I just wanna point out, if you are doing deadlifts and back squats in your programming, do not put them on the same day. Your low back is not going to be happy. This is going to fatigue you so much more than you realize. Hello, we're back at home because someone was using the trap bar and they paid to be there. So here we go. All right, so I wanna show the trap bar deadlift because typically people can lift more in this deadlift variation. The big reason for that is because the weight's gonna be on either side of you rather than in front. Also, for some people, you're gonna have a smaller range of motion simply just because of how the bar is built. And because you have a smaller range of motion, you're gonna be able to load it up more. So if we were talking about hypertrophy here, I would probably do a straight barbell deadlift because you're gonna get more range of motion, but we're working for max strength. And if you can lift more on a trap bar, that's kind of the goal, right? Now, working for max strength especially, you're gonna wanna have a number of warm-up rounds. You don't wanna go from like 0 to 100 right off the bat, right? And it's up to you to figure out like how long you need to warm up or how many rounds you need to warm up into your working weight. But I would say just make sure you're not fatiguing too much in your warm-ups. So maybe like 2 to 3 warm-up sets of just a handful of reps just to get it in your body. For our programming here, we're gonna do 5 sets of 1 to 3 reps. And this is gonna be a 9 to 10 out of 10 intensity or RPE. It's gonna be a slower tempo because there's a lot of weight on that bar and you only wanna have 0 to 1 reps in reserve. In between our sets, we're gonna take 2 to 3 minutes of rest. All right, next up, we're gonna talk about pull-ups. I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought that this squat rack had a connection at the top. It doesn't, so we're gonna try and finagle this. Yeah. So depending if this is high enough for us, we're gonna be showing chin-ups today. It might work. I actually had a shoulder injury earlier this year, so pull-ups just don't feel great on my shoulders with that open position. So we're gonna look at some chin-ups instead. Maybe. Now I know that a lot of people are like, oh, pull-ups are optimal, chin-ups aren't as good. Honestly, if you can lift your whole body weight up, you're doing great. Now, if you can do 6+ reps and you really want to test your max strength, I would recommend either adding a weighted vest. I've seen people add chains. You can hold a dumbbell between your feet if you think you're coordinated enough for that. But let's break down the form. So I'm going to take an underhand grip because again, I'm doing some chin-ups here. I'm going to hang down low. From here, I'm going to pull myself up, chin over the bar, bring it back down. That was fun. In terms of our programming, we want to hit about 5 sets of 3 to 6 reps. Your intensity here is going to be like an 8 out of 10 RPE, and your tempo is going to be pretty even, up for 2, down for 2. We probably only want to have like 0 to 1 reps in reserve, and you're going to take 2 to 3 minutes rest in between. So if you have any questions about programming for a specific goal, please leave them down below. And as always, a huge thank you to Fitness Lounge for letting us use their space. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and I will see you in the next one.